Let's take a moment to look at the disclaimer. This content is for educational, informational, entertainment purposes only, and nothing should be taken as a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any securities at any time. We're here just to tell you how BTA analyzes the market, how we look at the market. This is Rod from BTA, and we are known as the middle traders. We are not going to get in at the exact bottom, and we're not going to get out at the exact top, but we do make money in the middle. Okay, this is going to be our weekly Bollinger Band RSI stochastic MACD strategy update. It's the update for the strategy. Well, we know we've been, for the last couple of weeks, waiting for a new signal week because we broke back below the low of the Bollinger Band, okay? And the stochastic, the RSI and the stochastic both got into oversold territory. So here we rebroke back into the back below the lower Bollinger Band right here on this week. RSI got down net almost exactly to 30. This is the art, not the science. So we could give it a little bit of room, but it was almost to the oversold level, quite close to almost to the penny. And the stochastic got back below 20. It got back below 20, so it made it all the way back to this oversold level. So the strategy reset a few weeks ago. But I noticed something very interesting, okay, that I want to bring up. I want to bring it to y'all attention. If you notice, we broke back below the lower Bollinger Band for the second time, right? We broke back below the lower Bollinger Band for the second time right here. We broke below it here, and we broke below it here. And by the way, this is a weekly chart of the DIA, the ETF that tracks the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We're looking at the weekly chart of the DIA, okay? So we broke below the lower Bollinger Band here, and we got below 30 on the RSI, and we got below 20 on the stochastic. It tried to give us the signal for the pivot and everything, but we didn't take that trade. We broke back below the lower Bollinger Band for the second time 3 weeks ago. Got to the RSI near 30. The stochastic has moved back below 20. So it's the second time this has happened. Now, I went back and looked and see how many times I've seen this happen before, where this whole strategy, the whole trading plan happened more than once, okay? Broke below the lower Bollinger Band, got back below 30, got back below 20 on the stochastic. How many times have we seen it where it happened twice, okay? So I went back and looked. So here's a snapshot. I'm going to bring up a snapshot of the DIA. I took a snapshot of it. So this is DIA. The only time I found that this happened over the last 20 years, okay, okay, was back in 2008 and 2009 area. So back in 2008, we got below the lower Bollinger Band for this week. And at the same time, the RSI got below 30, oversold. Stochastic got below 20. We tried to rally up, and that rally failed. And we got back below the Bollinger Band again in November the 21st, 2008. And the RSI got oversold, and the stochastic got oversold, got below 20. Now, we tried to go on a move here, okay? We tried to go on a little rally here, and it failed again. Okay, it failed again, and we came back down, and we broke below the lower Bollinger Band again on March the 6th, 2009. The RSI got below 30, stochastic got below 20, and then we took off. So we had three breaks where the RSI and the stochastic both got oversold back in 2008 and 2009. Okay, now I noticed between the second break and the third break, from this period, from the second break to the third break, for the DIA, it was about a 15-week period right here before we had, from the second break to the third break was about a 15-week period. Okay, And notice that the RSI on the weekly chart never got above 50, and the stochastic never got above 50. So we never got above the 50-yard line or any of those at any of those times. And the Bollinger Band and price, the weekly price never got above the middle Bollinger Band. Okay, so from the second break below the lower Bollinger Band with the oversold signals on the RSI and the stochastic to the third and final break with the oversold levels on the RSI and stochastic, it was a 15-week period for the DIA. Okay, so this has happened where only once in the last 20 years that we had two breaks and we tried to go back up and then it broke for the third time. We have never had two breaks, okay, over the last 20 years except for this time period, okay? We're having it now. We're having it now. Right now, we're having it, right? So we never had this happen before. But when it did happen, the market tried to rally and it fell for a third time. And it was 15 weeks later. Now, what I find very interesting about this 15-week thing is because don't forget, a quarter is 13 weeks is a quarter. 13 weeks is the quarter. So basically, one quarter later, we recycle back down. So after the second break, we tried to rally. It failed. We recycled back below the lower Bollinger Band one quarter later after the second break below the lower Bollinger Band. Tried to rally, pretty much went nowhere, and broke down again. Okay? And if you notice, when it went nowhere for the first couple of weeks, it was a lot of choppy up and down movement. It really didn't go anywhere. Then finally it broke down and it fell pretty hard. Okay? So we got to watch this. One quarter later after the second break below the lower Bollinger Band with the oversold levels, one quarter later we broke below the lower Bollinger Band again and we got those oversold levels. We got to watch it. It only happened once. This whole thing has only happened once in 20 years. One time in 20 years. We got to watch it. It's happening right now. It's happening right now. Let's go back to today, okay, this week. Let's go back to this week. I'm going to expand this so you can see it. It's happening right now, okay? We had the first break right here, oversold levels. Second break, okay? Back below lower Bollinger Band, we was pretty much oversold on the RSI. The stochastic definitely got below the 29. It was oversold. That's the second break. Now we're trying to move up a little bit. We never got above the middle of the Bollinger Band, this white line, the middle of the Bollinger Band. Is it going to be 13 weeks later that we see this happen again? We're going to keep our eye out on this. We got to see if we ever going to get above that middle Bollinger Band. Because notice before, back in 2008, 2009 area for the DIA, we never got above the middle Bollinger Band. It's a very interesting thing here. I find this interesting. You know, I always like to look at what has happened in the past so we could get an idea of what can happen in the future. And if it's a rare occurrence, something that doesn't happen too often, that's the kind of stuff that I like to look for because it doesn't happen too often. It's very rare. Most traders probably are not noticing this. Most traders are probably not noticing this, so that's good for us. All right? One time in 20 years, is it going to happen again? Well, we will see. We will see. Now, let's take a look at the SPY, okay? The ETF, this is a weekly chart of the SPY, the ETF that tracks the Standard & Poor's 500. All right, so we got a weekly chart, weekly Bollinger Band strategy, a weekly chart of the SPY, the ETF that tracks the Standard & Poor's 500. Now, notice. So don't forget the DIA 15 weeks later for the DIA. Right? So now we're looking at the SPY. Well, we had our first break below the lower Bollinger Band right here. Our first break below the lower Bollinger Band, oversold level on the RSI, and then the oversold level on the stochastic got below 20. RSI got below 30, stochastic got below 20. We had our second break below the lower Bollinger Band. RSI got to 30, stochastic got below 20. Same setup. We had two breaks below the lower Bollinger Band, two oversold readings on our RSI and stochastic. Well, let's look at it from a historical perspective. Let's see how many times had this happened in the past. And you're going to see it's the same thing, okay? It has only happened once in the last 20 years, okay? Now, for this one, I'm going to have to go back and show it to you live because I don't have the screenshot. I thought I took the screenshot of this and I didn't. So let's just scroll back to the 2008, 2000 time period. Let's raise it up. It's right here. Okay, let's move it over to the middle. Let's expand it for a little bit. So this is even good because you get to see it actually right now as we researching it. We're going back and looking at it. Let's expand it. Lift it up. Let's expand this a little bit more. Let's bring it down a little bit so you can see it. Okay. See if we can expand this a little bit more. All right. So right here, okay, is the 2008, 2009 area. So we broke below the lower Bollinger Band right here. Right? We broke below the lower Bollinger Band right here. This is on 10/10/2008. All right. That was the first time. Right here. The first break below the lower Bollinger Band, RSI got oversold, stochastic got oversold, RSI below 30, well below 30, stochastic below 20. This is the first one. Then that was on 10/10/2008. And then let's expand it a little bit so we can see it. Then on 11/21/2008, we broke below the lower Bollinger Band again. Okay, RSI got oversold again. Remember now, it comes out of the oversold level. So we want to see when it comes out and then break back below it again. So that's key. I want to make sure I brought that up. The RSI went from oversold, went below oversold, broke back above it, okay, and then goes back below it again for the second time. And the Bollinger Band breaks below the price, the weekly price bar breaks below the lower Bollinger Band. So once here, once here, once here, once here. That's number two. Stochastic is oversold. The interesting thing about this period right here for the SPY, notice that the stochastic never came out of the oversold level. So we would have never made a purchase over here anyway because we would have never got the signal week completed in order to get the pivot, because in order to get the signal week, the stochastic has to come out of the oversold level. And it never happened here in this area. But we had another break below the lower Bollinger Band, RSI below 30, stochastic still below 20. That's the second one. So we got two here. Then we had this time period from here to here, from 11/12/2008 to 3/6/2009, before we had another break below the lower Bollinger Band. The RSI gets back below 30, and notice the stochastic is below 20 again. This is the only time that this has happened, okay, in 20 years. Now, from this period, from 11/21/2008 to the 3/6/2009, for the SPY was 13 weeks. What did I say a quarter was? 13 weeks. It was 13 weeks, and it recycled down and got back below the Bollinger Band, and then it took off. 13 weeks later. Now, y'all know we was deep into a recession right here in 2008, 2009. Right? Y'all know 2008 was a nasty one. Okay? So this is why I'm going back and looking at this, because we're heading into a recession now. We're heading into a recession now. I think everybody can agree on that. Okay? So 13 weeks later, we bottomed out for the third time, and then we went on the run while we was in the recession. 2008, 2009 was a recession period. You see this? Are you picking up the jewels that I'm dropping? The DIA, 15 weeks. The SPY, ETF that tracks the Standard & Poor's 500, exactly 13 weeks, a quarter. Let's look at it right now. This is today. This is what's happening today, right? Right now. Let's go back to the present. Give me a chance to set it up. Okay, let's bring it over a little bit so you can see it. What you see here. All right, it's happening right now, today. So we got to be careful. We got to watch this thing. Are we going to get a little bounce? Maybe. It's going to try to move sideways and choppy? Maybe. The question is, are we going to stay below the middle Bollinger Band? Is this thing going to run for a little while and then come back and break below the lower Bollinger Band again for the third time? Get back into the oversold levels on the RSI, get back into oversold levels on the stochastic before it makes its big run. We're going into a recession. We have to see. Is this going to be a 13 to 15 week, maybe 16 weeks? Because I'm going to show you with the Qs right now. Okay, let's look at the Qs and let's just go straight to the screenshot that I got of the Qs. Okay, because I think I got the idea of what we're looking for. So look, the first time it happened was right here. Okay, and first time it happened was right here. In 10/10/2008, here it is. This is a weekly chart of the QQQs, ETF that tracks the NASDAQ 100. The NASDAQ 100 specifically. We broke below lower Bollinger Band on that week. We got oversold with the RSI. The stochastic got below 20. We tried to rally up. Notice this on the QQQ, the stochastic never got above 20. We would have never made the purchase anyway. The RSI did get above 20 and then it recycled below it, but the stochastic never got above, never came out to oversold level. So we would have never made a purchase here anyway. We never made a purchase here anyway because the setup week would not have, the signal week would not have completed and we would have never got the pivot. But the fact of the matter is, notice, we broke back below lower Bollinger Band again. The RSI got below 30 again. Stochastic got below 20 again for the second time. And then we saw it for the third time right here. The only thing here, the RSI didn't get quite to oversold, but the weekly price bars broke below lower Bollinger Band. The stochastic didn't get quite oversold on the Qs. But we came down and broke below the lower Bollinger Band, and they came close to being oversold. We did finally get a bullish crossover on the stochastic, but look what happened when it ran up for the third time. We was gone. From this period here, from the second break to the third break below the lower Bollinger Band for the Qs, it was 16 weeks later. A little bit more than a quarter. So the Qs took a little bit more than a quarter. The DIA took a little bit more than a quarter. But the SPY hit it right on the head. 13 weeks. Okay? 13 weeks. We pretty much chopped around for that 13-week period. We pretty much chopped around and went nowhere in those weeks. Now, let's look at it. Let's look at it right now for the QQQs. Okay, let's look at it right now for the QQQs. What are we seeing? We seeing this happening. This setup look like it's trying to happen right now. Okay, it look like it's trying to happen right now. We on the Qs. We broke below lower Bollinger Band here for the first time. RSI oversold, stochastic oversold. We broke below the lower Bollinger Band for the second time. RSI actually got oversold, stochastic actually got oversold. Now we counting. Are we going to chop around for 13 to 16 weeks while the country is playing around with a recession and stay below the lower Bollinger Band? And then finally sell off, break below the lower Bollinger Band for the third time, RSI get oversold for the third time, stochastic get oversold for the third time, and then finally we break out and go. We have to watch this, y'all. We got to keep our eye on it. It has only happened one time in the last 20 years. Now, let's finish this thing off with, let's just finish this thing off right now with the IWM. I'll bring up the snapshot of the IWM, and I think you get the picture. Look at it. The Bollinger Band, weekly Bollinger Band got below, weekly price bars got below the lower Bollinger Band. Okay. We got oversold on the RSI. We got oversold on stochastic. The weekly Bollinger Band broke below it for the second time in 11/21/2008. We got oversold on the RSI, oversold again on the stochastic, but we never came out the oversold level on the stochastic. So we would have never made a purchase in this area. You see that? We never came out of it. Then we rallied back up a little bit, never got above the middle Bollinger Band. Chopped around, moving sideways pretty much. Just moved up a little bit. So it might be an opportunity to trade a little bit inside of this 13 weeks. But it didn't really blast off. Then we sold back off, broke below the lower Bollinger Band again. For the third time, RSI got oversold, stochastic got oversold. Then finally, the setup completes. We get the setup week, we get the signal week, we get the pivot week, and we go in 2009. How long was it from the second break below the lower Bollinger Band to the third and final time before it completed? Okay, for the IWM, it was 15 weeks. Okay, a little bit over a quarter, 15 weeks, and then it was gone. This was a deep recession in 2008, 2009, the financial crisis. Big time. Bank failures and everything. Real estate collapse, the whole 9 yards. Bubble pop, stock market drop. I think you get the picture. So now, what's happening with the IWM? Today, let's go to the IWM, and you see the same setup is happening, okay? First break below the lower Bollinger Band, oversold on the RSI, oversold on the stochastic. It comes back, it breaks again below the lower Bollinger Band, oversold on the RSI, completely oversold on the stochastic. This is the second time. Are we going to run for 13 to 16 weeks before we break it again below the lower Bollinger Band, and before the RSI and the stochastic get oversold again? And then for the third and final time, it goes. We was in a recession in 2008. We are going into a recession now. Is it going to take 13 to 16 weeks before we see the real pop? I don't know. I'm just saying to you that this three breaks below the lower Bollinger Band and oversold levels on this weekly Bollinger Band stochastic, RSI stochastic, MACD strategy, this three breaks to a low with these oversold levels has only happened once in 20 years. One time in 20 years. This is not financial advice, but wouldn't it be wonderful if it was? Wouldn't it be great if it was? But it's not. But what if it was? You will not lose a lot of money because we watch the charts. Men lie, women lie. The charts and numbers don't. Once in 20 years. Okay? I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I look to the past. I can't know where I'm going if I don't know where I came from. See you in the next video.